In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how to defend like a pro in Volleyball Legends. Also, I'm hosting a 1v1 tournament in my Discord for 40 lucky spins this weekend and plan to do many more in the future, so be sure to join that and subscribe while you're here. I'm going to first break down how to receive serves in 2s, 3s, and 4s because I see so many people get destroyed on serves and it quite literally costs their team games where they could have otherwise won. Like some games people will be good enough to win, but because they gave up 8 serves, they lost like 21 to 25 or 22 to 25 or something like that. And I'll start in 2s as that's the hardest mode for defending serves. You should break down the court into halves, sort of stand here and defend the middle somewhat together. This can change based on where the server is standing or what tech they are going for. For instance, if he is standing over there to the left, the person opposite of him can come more middle and stand right around here. It's because if he does serve towards the opposite corner, it's still going to pass over the opposite defender's head and he'll be able to get it easier. And this lets the person line up with the server defend the line closer to the server a little more closely. And this also goes for if he's serving from like far out in a certain direction, because the server at that point won't have a great angle to hit the opposite corner, but it's still possible, so don't just like double one side. If he is serving straight from the middle, I would suggest both players just standing in standard positions with the court split pretty evenly in halves. Also, if you find yourself struggling to receive and or playing on low speed characters such as Bokuto, it might not be a bad idea to just die for most of the receives. And also a big thing that happens on receive nowadays is honestly curve spike, and I'll cover the most common curve spike tech people use and how to stop it. People oftentimes pop curve spike right before they go to hit the ball and curve it right over the net. You can either one, just in general play a little closer to the net, sort of like mid court, or two, be watching the player who has curve spike's ability charge bar in the leaderboard menu, and when it's full he will likely use it and you can creep forward in preparation. And this is also a good general tip to just be aware of the enemy team's ability bars, just like in general. Also, another tech for solos or people who have teammates that kind of get destroyed. Like if you know your teammate's getting like completely destroyed on receiving, is baiting. I do this a ton with randoms, and it's pretty much where I stand well into my teammate's like zone. And as soon as the server throws the ball up, I go back to my side. This usually works to get the enemy to serve where you want them to by leaving the intentional space open. But this is much harder to do on slower characters. Still possible though. To receive in 3s is the same type of philosophy, but break the court down into 3rds and preferably have the setter in the middle, sort of hiding a bit. That way there's a good chance he can still get the second touch. The reason why I say, I mean, you can have the setter really wherever you want. I would just try to make the setter the second touch if you can, but if you need their help receiving, you can still have their help. I notice that most people who serve like to go for like the lines on either side, so usually the setter being in the middle is optimal because that's the least place they usually serve to, but you know. For receiving in 4s, having the center never receive the ball and simply just stand close to the net is pretty optimal because again, you really don't need more than 3 people to ever receive serves. You shouldn't. So having the setter literally just not receive the ball at all is what you should be doing if you have 4 people on your team. And then obviously, same as in 3s, just split the court into 3 zones. People are getting better and better at serving though, and the best tip I can give you is to pay attention. Like just in general, serving is about watching the server, don't pay too close attention to the ball itself, but to the server and the direction he is facing when he jumps. I think this is just a general tip on defense that a lot of people do, is they kind of follow the ball a little too much instead of the person who's about to hit the ball. And that is very important on serves as well. You want to be watching where the server is facing as soon as he jumps, because when he has jumped, he is now committed to a direction and you can shift that way. Next is blocking. There's multiple ways to block, but what type of block changes depending on the situation / mode. First, there's the set block. This one is very popular because it takes possession of the ball and sets it up very nicely for either a set or an instant spike. This block is probably the default you should be using most of the time and never really a bad option to go for. Then there's the back block, which is primarily used to take possession of the ball when it's close to the net on their side. Simply go to the net, push your back against it, jump and tilt back while doing the block, and you will pull the ball from their side of the court. Note this is best used in a team or when you can kind of call it out, because if you do this with randoms, a lot of times you'll just end up scoring yourself because people on your team aren't really expecting you to do this typically, but it is very, very strong. Lastly, there is just the normal block. This one is good when you kind of have a high block stat like Oigawa or the Mia twins and have a spiker on an island all by himself, where if he gets blocked, nobody will be there to recover the ball for him. Note though, you don't want to be spamming blocks when there's like 4 people all clustered there, because someone will be able to pull it back up, and in that type of situation you would have instead just want to go for a set block. It is very situational. And those are the 3 primary types of blocks you'll be using, but which you should use changes a lot. What's more important in my opinion is when you should block. A lot of times it's good to block when they're hitting from the inside of the attack box. This is because the closer they are to the net, the closer you can also be on them for a block, therefore taking up more of their spike radius. Look at this for example. If he spikes from back here, this is how small I am for him pretty much. I can't really cover him at all if he simply just aims past me and hits. But if he is this close, my block pretty much takes away half of his spike radius. So for me, the farther they are spiking from, the farther I am back as well and instead receiving. And while staying on the topic of receiving and playing backcourt defense in general when not blocking, a good and probably the biggest tip I can give you is playing right around this white line, a little bit behind it. This allows you to pretty much reach most depths that they might hit at, whether it be right in front of you or behind you. This is sort of the sweet spot to position yourself, I've found. I see a ton of people in the enemy spikers or attack from backcourt just like kissing the net, unless you plan to jump when they're spiking from the backcourt, which like I said before isn't really the best idea already. You need to back up because even if they spike it your way, it's going to go right over your head if you're that close and they're spiking it from that far back. And if you aren't blocking the spiker when he's in the front court, like being the one blocking in front of him, guard the angle he is most likely to attack. Like if he's positioned here on this wing and the blocker is right in front of him, guard the cross shot because that's the only other angle he has. If it's third touch, you can just double block or double set block, but if it's second touch, I would never suggest double jumping like on a block to somebody, because if he sets it out to a teammate, you're kind of screwed at that point. To help better receive close spikes like that you know are going to be almost instant, like a Sanu or Bokuto, like max spike, pre-click the set button as it has a window in which it's going to be up and it can be very hard to react to max spike or spikes normally. For positioning tips, you can either one, play sort of a mark defense, so each person on your team sort of watches a person on their team and guards them every time, or two, you can play more like position, so 2 blockers middle and 2 receivers on the edges, stuff like that. Either can work and really is just preference, but most of the time with randoms, people just kind of sort of guard the side that they're on, so you know. But you can definitely get way more sophisticated with it if you're playing like on stacks and stuff like that. Now for some tips against specific abilities. Redirection jump. Typically when it's popped, the spiker or server is always going to go in the opposite direction from when he jumped. So if he jumped facing forward, then use it. It's likely he's going to go in the opposite direction. And like I said earlier, and this tip continues to apply, especially on serves, but if you know people like to use their moves on serves, watch their ability bar when it's max. Boom jump. Honestly, if it's popped, you have to back up to the court and just try to receive it. But sometimes if they kind of don't get the correct height on it, and you can get up high enough on your block, you can sometimes catch boom jump as well. Part of the problem with boom jump is though, it's just the amount of times people can use it during a game because it is just a blue. Curse spike, like I said, this is an ability usually used on serving, and to defend against it, you just need to come a bit closer to the net and you can typically shut this one down pretty easily. Zero gravity set. If they're doing the tech I like to do with baiting out the jump, a good way to defend against this is literally just not jump and try to receive it just that way, or when you do jump, instead just block, because then your jump won't have a coolback when you try to come back up. And staying on the topic of abilities, the best ability for defenders is probably by far Steel Block, especially now the Shield Breaker is here, and Steel Block can counter that if you react in time, and even if you don't. Steel Block was buffed very heavily. Before, when you use Steel Block, about 60% of the time you just score on yourself because it would just pop the ball straight out and you couldn't do anything. Now it pretty much always shoots it straight down on their side. Here are some rapid fire tips and tricks to further help your defensive game. 1. Don't always guard so far back on serves. You don't need to stand on the spot where the ball is going to hit the ground. You can stand more forward for better receives, which helps sets up the offense better. 2. Counter spikes. When the ball is spiked from their side, tilt back and spike it as soon as it reaches you. This takes a bit of timing and is pretty easy to mess up. It can work, and at worst is a too low that sends it back to them, and at best is an instant point. This probably isn't something you should spam though, as the timing does have to be kind of on point. The best defensive character currently is the Mia twins. This is because they are tied for the highest block stat in the game, making them an amazing blocker, but also the other twin is incredibly fast, allowing you to quite literally do anything you want on defense. 4. Like I said earlier about serving, but I need to stress it, more so than following the ball and reacting to that, follow the hitter, because right as their feet leave the ground, if you read him right, he has already told you where the ball is going to go. 5. Playing out of shift lock is probably better than playing in shift lock, as it allows you to reach the balls a bit farther away when you are facing them, and I find this a bit better than like diving for every ball, because diving can be inconsistent and a lot of times you'll just miss or go past it with that. And 6, the best way to practice I found, like just general defense and kind of reading people, was going into a private server and having my friend do my serve at me and me trying to receive it, kind of like this. And yeah, that's my how to defend like a pro video. I'm sure I missed something. It's hard to compile all the knowledge you know about defense or just any one topic into one video. Something here and there is bound to slip out, but I hope I did a good job teaching people who needed the help. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya.